Snapshot 24W09A is out. Here we are in the new snapshot, and it's gonna break everything. However, part of me kind of thinks that's a good thing, and I'm gonna explain why. The gist of what happened in the snapshot is that item NBT has a completely new behavior. If, for example, I wanted to give myself a netherite sword that had 500 damage or 500 durability missing from it, then this command is how I would have done it before this snapshot. And as you can actually see, the command is not giving me an error, so this command does still work. But if I press enter and give myself the sword, well, the sword doesn't actually look damaged. Rather than just having that damage 500 as a direct sub NBT field on the sword, it is now under this components field. The item now has a custom data component that says damage 500, but as you can see, that doesn't actually cause the sword to have any damage. This command that I was using before, the one that worked in the previous versions, now behaves significantly differently. If I put anything inside curly braces after the name of the item, it is not viewed as data that is registered by the vanilla game, and the game thinks you just want to store some sort of custom data on the item. So anything you put in the curly braces doesn't actually affect the vanilla behavior of whatever item you give yourself. If I want to actually put damage on this sword, well, there's a new syntax. I now have to put square braces around it, and then there's a bunch of different options, so I can scroll through these, and these are where those previous vanilla NBT tags went. They turned into these components. So this option right here for damage, if I say damage equals and then 500, and then give myself this sword, well, there we go. There's a sword with 500 damage on it. Now the reason for me talking about this is to show you that the previous format for the give command, and in fact the previous format for how items were specified in commands in general, has been completely reworked. The weird thing is that all give commands from previous versions will still technically work and not give you an error in this snapshot, but what they actually accomplish is completely different, and in particular, like I said, they will not change vanilla behavior of items, such as damage, attribute modifiers, that kind of thing. In order to actually do that sort of thing, you have to use this new component format. So basically, if you've ever written a data pack that gives you items, or even tests for data on items, that data pack is now going to be completely broken and not work at all in the new versions of Minecraft. However, like I said at the beginning of the video, I actually kind of think it's a good thing. Obviously, it's not great that everyone's going to have to go and rework their data packs and fix everything that went wrong, but according to the changelog, Mojang is actually planning on using this to expand item functionality greatly in the future. And this somewhat reminds me of something. I have been playing Minecraft since version 1.7, and I really started to get into commands back in version 1.8. And if anyone actually remembers what the state of commands was back in 1.8, you might recognize something like this. All entity names were capitalized back then. We had to edit the data of entities using a command that looked like this, and yes, target selectors were also very different back then, and the execute command was quite different as well. And then version 1.13 came along. Commands were completely restructured, and basically no command creation that anyone had ever made up until that point was ever going to work again. If you wanted to keep your stuff working, you had to go through every single command block, because yeah, Datapacks didn't exist back then, and change the syntax of every single individual command and every single individual block to match the new syntax and the new format. Now, most people, including myself, were pretty mad about this at the time, but all of us very quickly realized that this change was amazing. There were things we could do with commands that we had never ever been able to do before, such as moving data around, add conditions to execute commands, and the biggest change was that as of 1.13 we could now actually use data packs. So all of those crazy breaking changes were for good reason. We ended up being able to do a whole bunch more cool stuff that we never would have been able to do before version 1.13. So let's take a look back at today. This new syntax is a bit strange, and it's probably going to take some getting used to, but there's some cool stuff we can do with it. Already, one of the cool things I've noticed is that we don't have to add false enchantments in order to make an item shiny. So here, I'm giving myself a stick, and there's this new field called enchantment glint override. So if I set that to true, and then just give myself the stick, well, you can see that it has the little enchantment shine on it. I'll kind of zoom in on my character here. Yeah, the stick is shiny, as you can see. Now, this was something we could do before, but it's now more officially supported. However, there is already some stuff in this snapshot that we could never do before that is now possible. Staying on the whole enchantment glint trend, if I actually make this a nether star, and then I say enchantment glint override is actually false, when I give myself the nether star, it won't be shiny. If I zoom in on it, it's just a regular nether star without the glint effect, which I'm sure you've never seen before, because this really was not possible before. Gives you a chance to kind of appreciate this texture. Now, as far as things that were actually completely impossible before, that's the only one that I've been able to find. However, this is only the first snapshot where these changes have been applied, and my guess is that the developers, for this snapshot anyway, really only focused on moving all the already existing stuff and making it compatible with the new system. Once the new system has been tested a bit and established, I am really excited to see what other new stuff they do with it. Some people, including myself, are hopeful that maybe we will finally get NBT crafting out of this, which is kind of one of the holy grails of data packing right now. But in more realistic news, I personally think it would be really cool if they added a new component where you could actually change the max stack size of a certain item. Or maybe you could change the max durability of weapons and stuff like that. I don't know, and I'm really excited to see what comes of it. I know a lot of us are going to be really mad that we have to go back and rework our entire data packs. Probably every single data pack we've ever made is going to break, at least assuming it used custom items. But just like in version 1.13, I am holding out hope that this is going to be really worth it. And in the meantime, we can just enjoy our not shiny nether stars. I've been Conyer. Thanks for watching, my dudes.